Well, when you are looking to hire a new worker in another country, a great thing to start with is to have a clear idea of the salary package and the contract contents that you wish to offer to the worker. That is a great starting point. Another thing that is really important to have is to have some basic information on the local requirements, the local restrictions. So what I mean by that is knowing whether there are any mandatory benefits, for example, in that country. There could be some types of insurances, there could be some types of bonuses that must be included. There could be different types of holiday entitlement, which may not be in line with whatever you were planning to offer to the worker, which may not be in line with the company practice in general. So very important to have a basic grasp of the most important requirements in that country where you're looking to hire. And on the back of that, another very important attitude to have when we are looking into hiring any workers in another country is flexibility and an open mind. We may come across sometimes laws, requirements, restrictions that we have never heard of before, that seem odd, that could be frustrating because they are not in line, they are in conflict with our initial plan. They may not intersect with the rest of the benefits package or practices that the company has for all the other workers. So very important to be flexible, as even though these things may come up, which may seem as an obstacle at first, there is always a possibility to find a workaround and find a way to reconcile the local restrictions and your own requirements and wishes. For example, you may be used to very quick and flexible termination procedures in your own country, where it is easy and quick to end an employment contract and little or no severance pay is required. And now you may face a situation where you have hired a worker in another country where termination laws are much more strict, and it would not be so quick and easy to end the employment contract. There may be a long notice period that must be respected. There may be a severance pay of several weeks or a couple of months even salary that needs to be paid out. There could be holiday pay outstanding that needs to be paid out, and the cost could end up being higher than something that you would be used to in your local practice. Another example could be your company offers fully paid maternity leave to all workers company-wide, and you wish to extend this to this new worker that you are hiring in another country. And it could very well be the case that the country where the worker is located does not allow for any extra legal payments for maternity. Maternity may be entirely regulated by the government, whereby the worker receives benefits from the state during the maternity leave, and the government forbids employers from adding any extra compensation during that period. In these cases, we can always keep an open mind and be flexible, because there could be ways to find a workaround, find a way to reconcile what you wish to offer to the worker and what is possible locally. And that is where a safeguard can come in and step in to work together with you to find a solution to work around these type of roadblocks. Before we onboard a worker, it is very wise to go over with them any type of expectations that they have in terms of working conditions and in terms of benefits that they would like to have included. You may notice that a worker from a different country may talk about a certain type of benefit as though it is something very standard and expected, whereas to you it may seem as something that is unusual, for example, a company car or pension insurance. Please take note of these type of things and discuss with the onboarding specialist at Safeguard so that we can double check that and advise you on whether these type of things are standard practice in the local country, whether they may be mandatory or expected. There could also be some working conditions regarding working hours, for instance, overtime, the ways that holidays are used. These type of things as well is very good to talk about beforehand, before the contract is signed, before we are working together, so that we can advise you again on what the local practice is in terms of those type of things, holidays, maternity, overtime, so that we have a clear idea of what the working conditions are expected to be for the person in that country. Yes, so once the contract is signed and the worker is live, it is very good to set expectations with the worker, especially regarding expenses and business travel. So for expenses, it's very good to let them know what type of expenses will be reimbursed when they are traveling, when they are, purchasing a material or equipment for work purposes. It is very good to let them know about business travel, what the conditions will be, the destinations, and the moments when they are traveling, because the worker will need also to inform Safeguard for practical and insurance reasons. Other than that, Safeguard will actually also be providing the worker with a whole array of information and documentation. Once the worker is live, the worker will be provided with access and explanation to any of the platforms that they may need to be using for expenses reimbursement, holiday requests. Then there is also a whole array of documentation around insurances. If the worker is enrolled to any health insurance or pension insurance or work accident insurance locally. A lot of the things that the worker will be needing during their employee cycle will also be provided by Safeguard. Very important to be open-minded and flexible in regards to legislation and practices in other countries where you may be hiring. You may be confronted with practices and laws which are very different to the ones that you are used to working with. And this can be frustrating sometimes, can appear as a roadblock. But with an open mind and with a basic grasp in advance of these requirements and restrictions, then there is always a way to find a workaround and a good solution.